Okay, so we have seen till now that we have placed the order and the order ID has been successfully captured over here. And then we are moving to the My Orders page inside this particular application. So we're moving to the My Address page, My Orders page. And from here, we have to basically scan the table to get the order ID that we have, whether the order that we have placed in that application, whether that order is available over here or not. So what we have to do is we have to scan through the table, the complete table, and then we have to go through each and every rows of the table and identify wherever the order ID is available. So here in terms of this table, the order ID is available at the first column, which is known as order ID. So that means we have to iterate through each and every row for the first column that this table is having order ID at first column. Okay. And as soon as we find the order ID is matching, wherever it is matching, we have to go inside the rows and click on view button, and then we have to validate whether the order ID that it is displaying over here is matching with the order ID that we have captured at the time of placing the order. Okay. So in terms of that, we have seen yesterday that in the previous session that we received, like, we clicked on cart message, then we clicked on to the cart tab, and then we moved to the uh, place order section where we had to fill some kind of details. So we are trying to use like press sequential over here inside the drop down to enter one by one character at a time. So whenever we use fill, it will automatically copy paste whatever we have defined as an input value. It will directly copy paste the value inside the input text field available in the application. Whereas whenever we have to type like single character at a time, at that point of time, we'll have to use a method called press sequential. Okay. So press sequentially, basically, it will print like, one character at a time in the input, wherever we are trying to fill the input value. Okay. And from there, what we're trying to do is we're trying to identify the value, the drop-down elements that it is appearing after entering some of the values, like the dynamic drop-down. And we are waiting for first element to appear in the result. And from there, we are iterating through and comparing if there is a country known as India. If it is matching with our text, then we are basically clicking on that particular country and breaking the loop. And then we are again clicking on the place order button. As soon as we click on place order button, it will generate us an order ID that we are capturing over here. And now we have moved to the order page where we are trying to get the values, trying to scan the table and check whether the order ID is available or not that we have placed over here, right? So in terms of that, we have written a locator which is trying to identify the complete rows over here, right? So here we can see that this table tbody and tr is a tag which is used to identify our complete table row. As many as row that we have available over here, it will be able to identify all those rows. And now our goal here is to, in terms of getting the order ID, so in terms of getting the order ID, our goal is to move to the first column of each row and then get the text value of each of the first column of each of the rows, and then compare with the order ID that we have received, right? So how do we move to the first column of each of the row? So if you carefully observe here that we are currently on T-body and TR, and inside every TR, inside the TR, there is a tag known as TH. which is able to identify the first rows, first column values. Whatever the column values are there, it is able to identify the first column values inside this table for the first column. So if you just give a space th, it will be able to identify only the first rows. And from here, first only the first column of each rows. And from here, we can get the text value of each of the rows for the first column. Okay. So in general, we have written a locator which we have stored inside a rows as a variable. So we have stored over here, which is like page.locator, which we know that it's able to identify the multiple rows. And from here, we are getting the count to iterate iterate in the table. And so that we can basically wherever our we will be getting like text from each and every rows for the first column, and then we'll try to compare whether that first column is matching with the order ID or not. Okay, and from there we'll like wherever it finds order ID, our main goal is to go and click on view button. Okay, so if you see now, let's say if we just directly write h over here, th, right? In that case also, it will be able to identify all the first column value of each of the row. But if we write like this, which is like tbody, tr, and th as a parent locator, then the focus will only be on the first column of each row. That means it will not have an idea of the other column that is available inside a row. So to again click on view button, we'll have to write a different locators, right? So that is where I have identified as a tbody space t row as a parent locator. And on this locator, whenever we try to write a th locator, it will basically be the scope will be limited to this tbody, inside this tbody and wherever the tr is. So inside every tr, the scope will be limited to search for the th tag or the locator that we are trying to write to um, basically capture the first column of each row. Okay. So tbody and tr, we can see like it is able to highlight each and every column of every rows, right? We can see like it is able to identify each and every columns of every row, right? Now what we're saying is iterate through each and every rows uh, of the table that it is available, and then try to get the first column values over here, right? So what we are saying is const order ID await. We know that rows is this parent child, which is parent tag, which is parent locator, which is able to identify the complete rows. So we are making this as a unique by providing nth method, by using nth method, nth of I. So the first iteration, this tbody and tr will be able to identify the first rows value. Okay. From this one, we just have to identify the first column to get the order ID, right? If you see like this is able to identify our first rows, and from this, from here, we have to identify the first column. Okay, so we have to write a locator. We have to write a chaining locator over here, which will be able to identify our first column of each and every row. So at first instance, it will be able to identify our first rows. And in that first row, I am interested in getting just the first column. So if you see this, all these locators that we are trying to write over here will become like this now. So it will become like this. And the focus will only be on the first column of each rows. Okay. And now what is our goal is to get the text content of the values. Okay. So did you understand this? So what we are trying to say here is we have we have written a locator which is able to identify our complete rows, and it is having an idea of all the columns of each and every rows, right? And now we are interested in getting the first column value of each and every rows and get the text content. That is where we have written nth of I to make the rows as a unique. For the first time, first iteration will be able to identify I will be replaced as 0, and then this particular rows will be able to identify the first row. This particular locator will be able to identify our first rows inside the table. Okay. And on top of that, we are trying to write a locator which is able to identify our first column of each and every rows. Now here, we know that text content will return us some of the values, so that we are trying to store inside our order ID text. Okay. Now what is our goal? Our goal here is to validate if we are saying that if this order ID, we know that the order ID that we are receiving over here is having some of the spaces as well as our pipe symbols. So if you see here, if you go to this application and then let's try to order something. Go to the home page, click on add to cart, go to the cart page, click on checkout, select country, let's say British version. Click on this, and if you see here, this is having the order ID that we are getting is this particular things, which is having a pipe symbol as well as one single space before starting the complete order, right? So here what we have to say is, we have to say this order ID, whatever the order ID that we have basically collected or stored at the time of placing the order, includes this order ID text or not. If this is in, if this order ID includes this ID, then our goal is to basically click on the view button, right? So our main goal is to click on the view button, right? So here we were trying to get the text from first column of each and every row. Now we have to go back to the second last column of each and every row, right? So to identify the first column, of each and every row, what did we do? We have written a locator on top of the parent locator by providing a tag which is th, right? In that case, it is able to identify first column of each and every row. Now, if you try to locate this view element, it is saying that it is having a tag as button. So let's say if we just write it as, because we know that t body and tr is able to identify the complete row value. So this will become our parent locator, and on top of this, we can write a dot located method to identify view or delete button. So if you just write delete, if you just write button, now this locator, whenever we write over here on this part, we will be writing a chaining locator, which will say as a button, right? As here we are trying to get the first column values. So in the same way, here we are trying to get the first button values that it is available inside each and every row, right? Because view is first button, delete is second button. So whenever we write a locator, chaining locator using button, the scope of this button locator will be inside TR only, because T body and TR is able to identify the complete rows. It will, this button locator or this locator that we are trying to write over here will not be searching inside like, the entire application. The scope will be inside the TR itself. That means the table row itself. All the rows will have, so this button will only search inside all the rows itself, not in the entire DOM or entire application. Okay, getting the point? So here, if you see, if we just click on button, it is having two buttons inside each and every row, right? View and delete. And we are basically interested in the first button available inside each and every row, right? So as we know, the scope of this locator is basically inside the rows itself. So we are saying that identify a button with the locator, with the tag name as a button, and then we are saying that identify the first matching um, identify the first matching element with the tag name as button. And then what is our goal? Our goal is to click on that button. Okay. I hope it is clear till now. And then as soon as it is matching, let's say if it is matching in the first rows itself, then as we click on the views, there is no need to proceed further in terms of the looping. And then we can break the loop to exit the control from the form. Okay. Understood this? Right. So here we are trying to get the rows value, like order ID text. And here from this particular line, we are trying to just compare the order ID text that you have received from each and every rows, first column of each and every rows. And from there, we are trying to compare. Wherever it is matching, we are our goal is to click on the view button. So we are trying to click on view button, and then we are breaking the loop. Okay, it is this for loop is again similar to that we have written earlier. Okay, great. Now let's see. Now we are again on the views. So as soon as it clicks on this, it will open. Thank you for software with us, which is like order summary page, right? And our goal is to identify this particular order ID, right? So that we can get the text for this, and again we can compare the values. Okay. So how do we get the text value for this? So let's identify this as we have called text over here. Let's see if it is able to identify uniquely dot called text. It is identified two elements. It is identifying two elements, but our okay, if we make it as tag name dot class name, then it is able to match the unique element. So what we can do is we can directly say that await is dot located, and then we have to get the text value from it. So we can write it as text content, and then we have to again store inside. So what we say is like ordered summary. What is this? Order summary order. Let's say I'm saying I'm giving the name as order summary order, which is this. Okay. And now we have to again, so now we have to again assert that this order ID is similar to the order ID that we have uh, captured at the time of placing the order. So here we can expect the value. So here we can assert by using expect. So what we are saying is expect order ID dot includes order summary order. That means we are saying that we know that this value will basically throw us a true result, right? Because we are saying that this order ID includes this order ID. If it includes this order summary order ID inside the order ID, that means it will throw us a true value, right? And our goal, our main requirement is that this value should match with the order ID that we have generated or stored at the time of placing the order. So we can directly use to be true because we know that this will throw us a true value. So here we are saying that expect to this condition, expect this condition to be true. That means we are saying that this condition has to throw to true to, to basically pass this statement. Okay, if this will throw us a false, then the statement will look like is expect false to be true, which will always be a false, right? And if this order summary ID is matching, then in that situation it will be like expect true got to be truthy. That means it will check like whether the condition is throwing the true Boolean value or not. Ensure that value is true in the Boolean context. Okay. So here, if you see like the example that they had given is like const value equals to example value, and then it is saying that expect value dot to be true. That means this value is basically true value. It is saying. Okay. Got it. So you don't have to write this statement. I just wanted to explain you so I've written. So this is the complete, end-to-end scripting that we have completed over here. Okay, so we don't have to write again waiting concept. It will automatically check the assertion over here that whether it is true or false. If the assertion is passing over here, that means whatever the test case or the test script that we have written is working perfectly. So let's try to run this out and then we'll check whether it is working fine or not. Okay, so let's try to see, not in terms of UI, but basically. So let's try to see whether it is able to place the order, validate the order ID, get the order ID from the table, validate whether that is correct or not. And we see here something happened failed. So what happened failed? It says that there is a router link. There are two links available for order history page, right? So here it is saying that whatever the value that we have written, this is matching with two elements. Okay. So whenever it is matching with two elements, the click operation will get confused that on what element we have to click on. We basically have to click on. So if you see here, it is saying that this dashboard my orders is matching with two elements. One is this and one is this one that we had seen at the time of placing the order. So order history page is one of a element, and then orders is other element order stuff. So let's make it as uh, unique by just placing it at, we know that this will be matched at the first place. So we can directly write first dot. Okay. And now let's try to run whether it is working successfully or not. So now let's try to check it out. What is happening? It selected the product, selected the country, and everything happened perfectly completed. So if you see that it has also printed as the value, this expect, that means assertion has also been completed over here. Now, if you just want to check the reports or check the results, check the reports or check the results, then you will be able to see like it has, it clicked on the view summary button, and it is able to get the order ID and validate. And also it has generated some kind of videos. So if you see these videos, we have not written any code. It generated a video from the first step to the last step that we have done in the test script. It has also generated something which is whatever we are trying to print using console.py. Okay, so this is all about the end-to-end test case that we have in terms of this particular application. Okay, so that is it in terms of writing the end-to-end test case. We have completed here. What you can do is you can try to practice it out without checking all these things. Try to get, like, how do we write the logics that we have written over here in terms of for loop. How do we write the locators that we have written over here with the different types of locators? How do we compare? How do we write the expect and so on? Okay, so that is it in this session, and the next session will continue with we'll start with the API validation. Okay, like we'll go through with the basics of API, and then we'll start with the few things in terms of API. How does the Playwright support the API? Okay, so that's it for today, and we'll continue in the next session.